international journals and evaluator for several funding organizations. Author and co-author for numerous scientific papers and editor and co-editor for several special issues of international journals as well as conference proceedings. Member of the editorial boards of 4 scientific journals. Developed 2 widely used models, SLT-MED, SALT-MED, for field scale as a tool for integrated management of water, soils, crops, and fertilizers, and IHMS, integrated hydrology for modeling system for catchment basin scale. The list goes on, goes on. Please welcome Professor Ragab for his invited speech.
Good morning, dear participants of the 17th International Steering Committee and members of the Symposium of the International Network of Water Ecosystem, Paddy Fields. It gives me a great pleasure to address the International Network on Water and Ecosystem in Paddy Fields in the occasion of its 17th International Steering Committee meeting in Sri Lanka in November 2021. The International Network of Water Ecosystem Paddy Fields is a unique organization with particular focus on achieving the goal of food security and sustainable paddy field ecosystems. The objectives of this network actually are in line with the sum of the ICID objectives, namely food security, poverty alleviation, and sustainable water use and international cooperation. The ICID, as International Commission on Irrigation and Drainage, was established in 1950 and was the forefront of the Green Revolution after the World War II. The ICID is a leading scientific, technical, and professional not-for-profit international organization working in the field of irrigation and drainage, flood management, and to promote and achieve sustainable agricultural water management. ICID is dedicated towards improving the status of agricultural water management practices, including grain-fed agriculture, supplemental irrigation, deficit irrigation, and full irrigation. ICID other core activities focus on drainage, agricultural lands, and the management of extreme climate events such as flood drought. ICID developed a vision for 2030 for a secure world free of hunger through its sustainable rural development to produced a plan how to implement the vision through its activities. The ICID recognition of the importance of rice. Actually, rice is one of the most important crop and staple food for almost half of the world population, and provide more than 1/5 of the calories consumed by human worldwide, and accounts for 40% of all global irrigation and 17% of global groundwater depletion. In Asia, in particular, 50% of water used for irrigation is being consumed by rice only. Rice is not only staple food, but also constitutes the major economic activity and a key source of employment and income for rural population. However, there is a concern about the large amount of water and energy consumption and the contribution to the greenhouse gases, as accounting for around 2.5% of all global human-induced greenhouse gases emissions. Rice climate footprint is comparable to that of international aviation and produces 12% of total global emission methane. And because of that importance, the ICID has been involved in several workshops and meetings related to water saving in rice cultivation. This is one that I myself conducted in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia in 2006. The ICID working group reported ongoing development in rice cultivation And they have been highlighting the aerobic rice cultivation as a new technology that involves different varieties to provide higher yield potential with much lower water input than required for traditional rice cultivation. Many technologies appear to save substantial amount of water through reducing irrigation water requirements such as laser leveling, direct drilling, raised beds, non-ponded rice culture, and irrigation scheduling. Changing from continuously flooded rice culture to more aerobic culture, including alternate wetting and drying AWD on flats and furrow irrigated beds, was also reported by the group. Promotion of micro irrigation, drip irrigation, and sprinkler systems to improve water use efficiency, and the DSR method also reported higher yield compared to the transplantation method. So these are a number of activities that the working groups reported about water saving in rice cultivation. There are, of course, new development is taking place around the world, and that's one of them here is a center pivot system to irrigate rice. And this is a center pivot system has some benefits. It would allow for minimum tillage, which benefits soil and benefits the soil. At the same time, fewer greenhouse gas emissions and water conservation and reduce leaching of fertilizers, chemicals, more food produced using fewer resources, and greatly reduced arsenic content compared to flooded rice. So this is one of the things reported by the group, and also that no low-level nozzles of center pivot system or sprinklers also can save about 30% of the water because it avoids losses by evaporation and by wind. And even with the pivot system, that the amount of water can be controlled not to be the same rate all the way all over the span. So it could be part of the span of the center pivot irrigating while the other parts are not here, or they can actually be applying different rates. So they can have lower rate here, higher rate there, and no water at all applied here. So you can even control the amount of water by the speed, by the zone itself. So this is a new development that will actually save a lot of water as well. In India, they have been trying the drip irrigation. Drip irrigation here used for rice cultivation proved to use less energy and less water, and you could have here water use maybe 6% compared to the traditional, and the energy use would be about 52% compared to traditional rice. Drip irrigation also has been improved now to allow a low flow and low pressure drippers to take place. And you can see here from that slide, the traditional drip irrigation system might allow some water to go below the root zone and it lost water, while ultra low flow drip irrigation would actually maintain the pressure in the root zone only without losses below the root zone. And these actually, the rates the drippers to use from 0.1 to 0.3 liter per hour drippers compared to traditional drippers, which is about 2 to 4 liters per hour. And also the group reported the integrated water management that would allow not only the rice cultivation, but also you can have fish and shrimps. Fish rice farming method, in this method, the fishes and shrimps are reared in the flooded rice fields. And these fishes reduces methane emission from the rice fields and act as additional food and income source for the farmers, apart from adding nutrients to the soil. This also reduces the dependence on pesticides and fertilizers. And also, because irrigation uses a huge amount of water and energy, we have really one of our objectives is to save water and energy using renewable and clean energy in our irrigation and drainage. This is example here from the UK, where farmers they have a joint water reservoirs for irrigation, where they can use floating solar panel to actually minimize the water losses by evaporation, and also to have a clean energy for other activities in the farm, especially dairy products. And also, in order to not to use too much land and to leave the lands for food production, we can have also floating wind turbine to produce energy. So this is done on the water bodies rather than on land. In addition, also to that, we can have irrigation systems nowadays and operated by solar panel. And this is simple pivot is actually operated using solar energy, and that can actually reduce and save water and energy. And it is reported that 30% of water and energy can be saved. Also on a smaller scale, farmers. This is an example from India. Also, solar panel can be used to pump water or to the water tank, and then to irrigate by drip irrigation small farms. Also, to abstracting water from underground can also be done by clean energy, and this is an example of solar pumps that can be used to abstract water from the underground and use it for irrigation. So these are examples really of clean energy. And also nowadays, food waste can also be used to produce another source of clean energy and renewable energy instead of fossil fuel energy that contributes more to greenhouse gases. So the final words from me is that we have limited water resources. Water use is expected to increase by 50% by 2050, increase global energy demand by 30 to 40%, and the global food demand by 70 to 100% by 2050 is a big challenge. By 2030, a 40% overall gap between global water supply and demand is expected. So we all need to invent, develop, adopt, and apply novel water, energy-saving technologies, and rice cultivation, and to mitigate the greenhouse gases. I wish your conference a great success in achieving those goals. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, Professor Ragab. It was a very descriptive, field speech, giving a lot of new innovations on the subject of irrigation, especially regarding solar power operated implements for irrigation and drainage. Thank you very much again. Now we are moving on to the chief guest speech, special speech by today's chief guest. Let me introduce Engineer Ivan De Silva, our chief guest today. Engineer Ivan De Silva studied at Richmond College, Galle, Sri Lanka, obtained BSc Engineering Honours from University of Motuva in 1976, and obtained his Masters in Construction Project Management from University of New South Wales, Sydney in 1993. Joined the Irrigation Department as a young irrigation engineer in 1976, and he was holding a lot of positions as an irrigation engineer in the irrigation department, the level of director. And then he moved to New Zealand from he was residing in New Zealand from 1997 to 2006, working as a consultant engineer. In 2006, he was appointed as the post of Director General of Mahaweli Authority of Sri Lanka, the post he was holding until he was elevated to the post of Secretary to the Ministry of Irrigation and Water Resources Management in 2009. He was holding the post of Secretary till 2015. During his tenure as a Secretary to the Ministry, he was instrumental of initiating nearly 30 new irrigation projects and water resources development projects and water resources planning in the country. In 2021, again, he was appointed as chairman of Central Engineering Consultancy Bureau, the largest and the premier consultancy organization in Sri Lanka. And later he was appointed to the secretary, the State Ministry of Tanks, Reservoirs, Irrigation Development in rural Paddy Fields. Please welcome Engineer Ivan De Silva, the chief guest today, for his speech.
Wish you all good day. Chairman, Secretary and Executive Committee of INWEPF Sri Lanka, Dr. Tadafumi Kawai, INWEPF Japan, Professor Ragab, Chairman, International Commission of Irrigation and Drainage, special invitees, participants from all INWEPF member countries. I thank the organizers for inviting me at the occasion of 17th Steering Committee meeting of INWEPF. I have been associated with INWEPF activities briefly in 2013 and 14 while Sri Lanka was preparing for the 12th INWEPF meeting in Sri Lanka as the then Secretary to the Ministry of Irrigation and Water Resources Management. After listening to the keynote speeches and some papers presented yesterday, I found that the knowledge and experiences shared and research studies done by INWEPF member countries can be applied usefully to the work that we are currently involved. We have made plans to face the climate change prediction since beginning of last decade. In 2012, we prepared a long-term resource development plan and identified priority items for 10-year development plan 2. Based on this plan, a strategic environment assessment as well as feasibility studies were carried out for smooth implementation of identified water resources development Sri Lanka. Also started several large reservoir projects and interbasin diversion projects since 2007. I am happy to see that some of those projects are now completed and some are in progress in well. Young Reservoir Project, Morakahakanda Kaduganga Development Project, Uma Multipurpose Diversion Project, and Mahavali Water Security Investment Projects are some of the projects. In addition, we have initiated projects to improve climate resilience of existing irrigation and other infrastructure, as well as to improve the safety standards of large dams in Sri Lanka. Presently, we are concentrating on improvements of water productivity in village irrigation systems in the country. There are about 30 minor tanks and small diversion structures in the country, and most of those assets need rehabilitation and proper operation and management systems. Further, we are in the process of increasing inland fish breeding in those with tanks to increase the economic return of investment as well as to enhance the nutrients requirement of the public. Water retaining capacities of most of those minor tanks systems have decreased over the time due to accumulation of silt, sand, and water weeds. We have already started a program to increase water retaining capacities of such minor tanks by desilting and removal of water weeds. Removal of water weeds quite helpful to enhance the healthy of inland fisheries along with the fish breeding activities. However, as we are aware, desilting is not a cost-effective in Sri Lanka. Therefore, we are in the process of finding ways to get the private sector involvement to use residual materials as raw materials for some production like sand extraction, production of bricks and other clay products and organic fertilizers, etc. These value additions need some new research done in order to see their economic viability and technical suitability. I am sure that we can gain such knowledge and experiences from the INWEF member countries through your network. Carrying out of practical research studies on improving water use efficiency, catchment improvements, especially to increase the water retaining capacity, control of invasive plants, and effects of use of agrochemicals and chemical fertilizers, etc., are very important for making correct decisions in the future on paddy water ecosystem. I noted that the papers presented during the yesterday's symposium related towards such further studies and hope that INWEP committees can take lead role that effect. I suggest you all to consider the on your action plans that are going to discuss today. Finally, I wish to congratulate you all for organizing a successful seminar and steering committee meeting in the current difficult situation, especially due to COVID-19 pandemic situation, and express my sincere support for any future activities of INWEP. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, can you kindly forward? We have to do the honors to you. I would like to call Engineer Lydia Aratna also to the front to do the honors. I very respectfully and kindly invite all guests to stand up and do the honors to Engineer Ivan De Silva. Sorry, we, the INWEF Sri Lanka Committee, thought to honor 3 eminent engineers who contributed to the development and sustainability of INWEF Sri Lanka Committee and INWEF Sri Lanka. So you were one of them, and you were absent yesterday. This memento is presented to Engineer Ivan De Silva for his invaluable service and guidance provided to INWEF Sri Lanka and Sri Lanka activities during his tenure from 2009 to 2015 as the Secretary to the Ministry of Irrigation and Water Resources Management. Please put your hands together. Thank you. Dear members, committee members, this concludes the inaugural session of 17th INWEF International Conference, the second day. And we are now moving to the working group activities. And now we have to now all the member countries. I will explain you, because now you are in a webinar link, and 3 working group committees has to move to 3 rooms with 3 separate Zoom links. Now the first one there, the top is the webinar link. Now you are in, and now working group 1 will be moving on to the working group 1 will be here at this venue, and the Link for that is displayed here. This work group will be presided and led by country Malaysia. And the second one, working group 2, will be headed by South Korea. And the link, Zoom link is displayed there. And the working group 3 will be headed by Japanese committee. And the Zoom link is displayed there. And the group 1 will be here. The group 2 will be at the Saffron Hall. And group 3 will be at the Tulip Hall. So we will be, our group, Sri Lankan group, be in 3 groups. The first group, the rapporteur for the first group is engineer. Group is Engineer Prabha Vitar and Mr. W.A.K. Karunatilaka. Those will be in this particular hall, Lotus Hall. And working group 2 will be in Saffron Hall, chaired by South Korea. And the rapporteurs will be Engineer Frankie Pereira and Chandika, Miss Chandika. Sorry, Engineer Migastana. And Dr. Kitsiri Valigapolage will be working group 2. Then working group 3 will be Miss Chandika Tugala and Frankie Pereira. And we need to group into 3 groups here. Now, the working group 1 will be on this particular topic. Can you all take the document which is in your dockets explaining the 3 working groups? Right. If you can take this particular document into your hands, terms of reference for INWEPF working group. If you go to the page number 6 and page number 7, working group 1, the theme is multiple roles of Paddy Fields. That will be chaired by Asian Committee. The countries representing the working group 1. All right. Can you kindly tell the next slide? Okay. Okay, right. Malaysia. The discussion items are good practices in on-farm water management to strengthen multifunctionality, qualification, evaluation of multifunctionality, commercialization, innovation, value-added paddy farming, public-private partnerships, food value chain infrastructure, socio-economic effects of FVC, and fundraising. So those who would like to join this particular group for the strengthening of multifunctionality in food value chain can join that group. Next slide, please. The second WG2 working group 2 is modernizing irrigation and drainage system in response to climate change. this is WG3 working group 3. Where's working group? You have missed one slide. Go back. Sorry. Go back. Right, this one. Modernizing irrigation and drainage system in response to climate change. Examples of discussion items. Modernization of irrigation and drainage system. Asset management, water management system with information and communication technology. Adaptation methods to climate change. Sustainable use of groundwater. Use of renewable energy. Paddy farming in lowland coastal area, and fundraising again. Those who would like to join this group can go to the Saffron Hall. Next, please. Next slide, please. Working group 3 is on improving water use efficiency and water productivity. The country leading this working group is Japan. Examples for discussion items: sustainable management with participatory irrigation management transfer, development to terminal canals, water saving system and techniques, alternative wetting and drying system, on-farm level development, mechanization, crop diversification, and in paddy. So those who would like to join to have the discussion on this particular subject topics can join with this group, which will be at Tulip Hall. I would invite all of you to at least be, I think we have around 35 here. We can have 10 members for each group. It's better.
Okay. I think working group meetings, we have allocated 1.5 hours for the discussions, and leading countries will lead the discussion, and we can go to the respective rooms and sit. The local participants can go to those rooms, and our technical team will join the respective foreign participants, and there will be a documentary film going on until we are ready for the group meetings. Thank you.
Sri Lanka is an island nation of 65,610 square kilometers and a population of 21.8 million. Sri Lanka has fairly densely populated, especially in the urbanized and industrialized southwestern coastline of the country. Sri Lanka is exhibiting remarkable biological diversity and considered to be the richest country in the Asian region in terms of species concentration. Ecological, favorable climatic, soil and topographical variability across the country provide conditions for a wide array of species of flora and fauna in most localities. Due to extraordinary biodiversity and species concentration, the country has been identified as one of the biodiversity hotspots in the Asian region. Distinctive biodiversity of Sri Lanka consists of species richness, gene pool and numerous diverse habitat assortment of forests, wetland, coastal, marine, freshwater and agricultural ecosystems. Environmental services renders uniqueness of Sri Lankan biodiversity and ecosystems. The central highlands are carpeted with emerald tea plantations interspersed with occasional waterfalls, cool climates, misty views, attractive landscape, birds and animals. The cultural triangle in the center of the island holds a certain magic, with ruins from several ancient kingdoms, majestic tanks, hidden rock caves, and ancient sacred temples, revealing the fascinating and almost unbelievable ancient architecture, art, and engineering. and also chains of islands are scattered off the shoreline, with their own unique habitats. The irrigation works in ancient Sri Lanka, the earliest dating from about 300 BCE. In the reign of King Pandukaya and under continuous development for the next 1,000 years, were some of the most complex irrigation systems of the ancient world. Sri Lanka has some unique advantages and experiences in its journey. Historically, sustainable principles were embedded in the land use, agriculture, water management, and other economic practices. Religious and cultural practices value simplicity, non-materialism, and sustainable consumption. For the past 70 years since independence, public investments in health and education services have created a legacy of high literacy, longevity resulting in high human development, and early achievement of the Millennium Development Goals. Sri Lanka receives an average of 1,860 millimeters rainfall annually, amounting to approximately 122 billion cubic meters of water. However, rainfall varies regionally between 1,500 millimeters in the central hills to around 950 millimeters in the coast plains of the northwest and southeastern ends. Mean annual temperature varies between 24 to 31 degrees Celsius in the plains and 18 degrees to 27 degrees Celsius in the mountainous region. Annual rainfall is spread over 4 seasons, 2 monsoons and 2 intermonsoons. However, for general purposes, the country is divided into 3 main climate zones defined by rainfall: the wet zone, in the rain-rich southwestern quarter; the intermediate zone separating it from an extensive dry zone in the north, north-central and eastern plains. A diverse topography and very tropical climate have given rise to extremely high levels of faunal and floral diversity, and high rates of endemicity. Around 30% of the country's land is protected by law as sanctuaries, reserves, and national parks. Sri Lankan biodiversity brings economic, ecological, and aesthetic values to the local community and beyond. However, due to both the natural and anthropogenic reasons, the biodiversity in Sri Lanka is threatened, especially it is significant amongst the endemic species. This biodiversity supports a considerable economic benefit through tourism, fisheries, traditional medicine, and provides unaccounted for ecosystem services such as water, aesthetic beauty, climate amelioration, and soil conditioning. In terms of natural resources, Sri Lanka constitutes well with lands, forests, waters, minerals, and biodiversity. Minerals and rocks in Sri Lanka contribute to micro and macroeconomic geology and have spread around the country. Threats to biodiversity from the changing climate has not been studied adequately, but early research illustrates significant impact on agriculture, especially paddification and endemic taxa like fishes, amphibians and reptiles, and drastic changes in coastal habitats such as corals, sea grasses, and lagoons. In recent years, however, development investments have been eroded by floods, drought and landslides, and the economy has been immensely burdened by disaster relief. Reflecting this trend, National Climate Change Policy of Sri Lanka leans heavily on adaptation, with a vision to minimize climate change impacts on its fragile ecosystems and economy. There are around 2 million farmers, and majority of them are small-scale, cultivating less than 1 hectare yard. Successive governments have invested in agriculture and expanding irrigation. However, climate change is already adversely impacting on food security and livelihoods.